Actually, I'm joined now by one of the key stakeholders in this particular operation here at Shaft number 11, of course, Pastor from Mahlasedi Foundation. Sir, we just saw these vehicles from Gauteng driving into Shaft number 11. You've been on the site for the past 2 days.
Yes.
What's your reaction to this reinforcement as far as forensic services are concerned? Let's start there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It is sad. It's sad to see the amount of bodies that have been pulled out. As from Monday, we are now standing on 78 bodies. There is confirmation that maybe there's another 10 or 15. So with the 12 that started before this rescue operation, we should be getting just close to 100 bodies. And that is sad for the families, it's sad for the community, and it's a sad day for those who do believe in the sanctity of life.
I mean, talk to us about what's the situation like currently now at the operations center. We're seeing these. Are we having any bodies that have not been transported back to various institutions here in the Northwest? But also, did you maybe get a sense from the officials in terms of the fact that they might be, getting some services from Gauteng as well, and the reason for that? Did you get any update from them as stakeholders on the ground?
No, we haven't. In connection with services coming from Gauteng.
Yeah, the forensic services.
Yes. No, unfortunately, we haven't heard any updates. It is probably assumed that with the amount of bodies that they have, that here in the Northwest they won't be able to handle. As I said, we're gonna land just under 100 bodies, and we definitely have to accommodate what we have found.
I mean, from what you've seen with the number of bodies that are being retrieved on a daily basis, do you think maybe there's a serious need for additional vehicles here in terms of the forensic services as well, but also the attitude between yourself as stakeholders? What's your attitude? What's the attitude on the ground in terms of collaboration, but also transparency in terms of the emergency services that are needed, forensic services that are needed?
For us, as the stakeholders, when we see the grim picture, it is for us sad to see that this only started so late. And we do believe, as the stakeholders that have been involved since October, November, that many of this could have been avoided if we started this operation that was promised a little bit earlier. I do believe that there is definitely a shortage of the services. We can just assume with all these vehicles that are driving in from Gauteng that they cannot cope with the amount of bodies.
You've got two volunteers on the ground, Mr. Charles, but also Mr. Mugwai. They've been going up and down the ground.
Yes.
What update are they giving you in terms of how the situation is underground? I'm talking about bodies, I'm talking about the individuals who are still underground, willing to come out.
Yes.
What is the sense now that you're getting?
Yes. Yeah, we had extensive debriefs with them. This morning we chatted with them for quite a long time. It is in contradiction to what was said that the people don't want to come up, the miners. There's not any miners. They've said that there's no miners that don't want to come up. So everyone that is down there is willing to come up, and that makes it quite easy for them to retrieve those that are alive. And so they are very positive. They are very positive that this is going to conclude in a short amount of time. If you think that with the bodies and those that are alive, that we have already reached close to 300, we are getting close to the number of which was reported through what we have seen throughout all those that have been raised. Maybe less than 100 or just over 100 left, which means that we can finish today or maybe tomorrow.
I mean, what's your message to the illegal miners underground, the stakeholders on the ground? I know you're from Mahlasedi Foundation, but you work very well with the community leaders as well. What's your message now to those illegal miners underground? You know that here we've got 3 shafts and we have not seen any movements in other shafts in terms of those that are exiting elsewhere besides here. What's your message to them? Are they willing to all come to this particular shaft to exit, or you're still exploring the other 2 shafts?
Well, as they were finishing up yesterday, we couldn't finish with all the people that were there. So what they did communicate is, while we are then going to restart in the morning, that they have to go through all the tunnels in every area where they know that there are still miners, and call them and to tell them that this is going to be the last time that we are going to get these services available. So they need to make use of the services of these rescue miners. So last night they went, and all the miners that were left went and into every place that they do know and went to go call. So we do not know now what is the update. So tonight, as Mr. Charles and Sasha will come out, we will see what they are reporting back.
I mean, as stakeholders of this operation, should we get to a last day of this operation, the minister talked about the 10-day period in which this operation need to be concluded by. If we get to that day and we don't get any individuals coming out, which I assume maybe might be those who don't want to come out, what approach do you think should be taken from there? In case that those that are refusing, that are saying we are not coming out, whether they are saying it openly or they're just not coming up, what do you think should be the approach at that point?
It is difficult to say. I think the two volunteers that are going down are very positive that everybody is going to come out. They are so positive that they're going to come out that we would be able to close this project. The concerns that they are raising is who are going to go and retrieve the bodies at the other shafts. There are bodies, as they are saying, that are halfway down and up the shaft that need to be retrieved. Who will do that? After everybody has come up, will they send the rescue team that is here, the miners' rescue services, will they send them down to go and see and make sure that everything is clear? I do not know the approach. Of course, this is still a crime scene, so it's difficult for us to speculate exactly what the government will do. But we would like to make sure that everybody comes up, and with the goodwill of the government bringing these rescue services here, that they will use it to come out. Because as we saw, the 200 that did come out, the state of the 200, they would not be able to make it to Margaret. Yeah. Some of them could not even stand. You could see the coloring of their skin. You could see the condition of their bodies. It is now evident, quite evident, that in the condition of the condition that they are, that they wouldn't have made it to the other two shafts.
All right. So now let's talk about the issue of the fact that before the operation started, there was food that was sent down to ensure that illegal miners have some strength to be able to climb on that crane to come outside. Looking at the situation and the period in which this expert operation has been given, what's the attitude now in terms of the food situation, in terms of the supply of food underground? Do you think there's a need, or do you think maybe that was the last batch up until this operation is concluded?
Well, if you think about the amount of food that went down, and you see the amount of miners that have resurfaced and that were still down there, I do think that the amount of food that went down would have not been enough. And that is definitely also the reports that we have received, is that they were rationing the food between them. You can definitely see that there's not an abundance of food at the bottom. Looking at the bodies of the people that are alive, if you look at the condition of their health, it is very, very clear that there wasn't enough food. But we would see by the end of today, if the volunteers come up and when they come up, to see how many are still left. And we did send some supplies down. We did send some sandwiches down. The medical experts have asked us to change the food that we give them, because the Mahlasedi is making their stomachs very upset because they haven't had food for such a long time. So we have been sending rehydrate with water to give them strength to bring them to a state of health.
The very last question, sir. Those that are coming out very sickly and those that are coming out as diseased bodies, do they have any form of identification with them so that maybe the activists and experts can know who to call in terms of next of kin, whether someone has lost his life or that someone really needs medical attention?
Yes, we have organized as stakeholders. We have organized with the South African Police Service. They are releasing the lists to us as the community and as the stakeholders. They're releasing the lists of all those that have come up that are alive, because they do come up with some form of identification, or if they don't have, at least they can speak and they can let them know names, where they're from, where they lived. And I think it's a little bit more difficult with the identification of those who are deceased. That I will ask South African Police Service how we can do that. But the community members that are here, I do think that we'll have to make a number available for those who want to call from other provinces or from other countries, where we can allow them to see whether they're lists, or we have to see how we can get the names published.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bravo. That's the pastor. There was one of the key stakeholders coming from Mahlasedi Foundation. It's a foundation that has really been the brains behind the mobilization of food for those that are underground, but also sharing something very worrying in terms of the change of the menu for those that are still underground, but also saying that there might be some challenges in terms of identifying those who've lost their life, giving us his insights and opinion as those pathology forensic services came through. However, earlier on, we did see the national spokesperson of the South African Police Service, Atlenda Mate, giving us some updates in terms of the numbers, but also the position of government in terms of what is it that they understand to be the situation underground. She made mention of the fact that they are aware that those illegal miners that are vulnerable, who have been assaulted and tortured underground. Let's take a listen to the national spokesperson of the South African Police, Brigadier Atlenda Mate.
We are also investigating allegations that there was torture and abuse after several videos surfaced showcasing these illegal miners being assaulted by alleged kingpins underground. So there is a lot that we are investigating. We're also investigating allegations that the majority of them were kidnapped. They were brought here under false pretenses. They were not given a clear picture of what is happening here. We had conversations and there was interrogation of some of them that have just resurfaced, and the majority did not have a clear picture of what they were going to come and do in Stilfontein. And you would have seen and heard with the numbers, the majority of them are illegal immigrants, majority being from Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Lesotho.
That's the national spokesperson of the South African Police Service, Brigadier Atlenda Mate there. But I'm not alone, Bravo. You're here in Stilfontein, shaft number 11. I'm with my colleague, Repatriation, who's somewhere else. Ref, please give us an update in terms of what's happening where you are currently.
Thank you, Ziniko. From where I am standing, I can see mini buses of the forensic pathology services, those that we have counted so far, 5. There are 5 mini buses that I'm seeing, that one big truck as well, one bakkie of forensic pathology services from Gauteng province, from the Department of Health. You'll remember that a little bit earlier on in the Northwest province, there had been an official statement that was shared indicating that because the Northwest province has about 20 vehicles, that is those of forensic pathologists, that can carry about 4 bodies each. And due to the high number of bodies in a short space of time during this retrieval process, they have asked the Gauteng Forensic Pathology Services to assist with vehicles to deliver the deceased to Northwest Forensic Pathology Services mortuaries. And this is why now we are seeing them. Indeed, they have arrived at shaft 11 in the Stilfontein mine, also indicating that all bodies will remain in the Northwest province. So these are the scenes that are unfolding here to Ziniko, from where I am stationed, or from where I am positioned. You'll remember that earlier on, Brigadier Atlenda Mate indicating that there's about 78 bodies that have been retrieved since Monday until today. And because this is an ongoing retrieval operation, there's a likelihood that those numbers will keep on increasing and they will give an update. But I'm just going to speak to one of the community leaders here, Johannes Kangase. You will also remember that besides the letter that indicates that there's about 109 bodies that are underground, they are also saying that due to the starvation due to the dire condition that are said to be underground, with people not having had food or water, there is a possibility that the number of people who have died is likely to increase. I'll speak to Johannes Prangase. Johannes, thank you so much and welcome to Newzroom Afrika. We'll speak about, seeing these more forensic pathology services arriving. What do you have to make of this?
Really, today is a sad day for us as community leaders, as a community of Matlosana, of Stilfontein, of Kuma. Really, we cannot, it seems like it's a taxi rank when you see those minibuses standing there. Big minibuses, that shows there's more bodies that are going to be retrieved there. But it shows that we have a government that works in a snail pace. It works in a snail pace. Because we should have avoided this such situation that we are seeing today. It means that more and more bodies, they will be loaded to those vans, they will be taken to the morgue. If ever help has come on time, we will not be in this situation. So it's very painful. It's very saddening. Like really, we thought maybe it was just a hearsay or an allegation that there are people who have died underground. But seeing these big minibuses getting inside the site, you can see really we must expect more and more bodies.
You were also talking about, the concern we saw earlier on Northwest Department of Health refuting claims that the facilities, mortuaries in the province are full, also indicating that all bodies will remain in the Northwest province. But you are saying that there's going to be, you are concerned about the challenge of these bodies being sent to one of the identified facility in Phokeng, in Brits, the identification process for the families.
It's going to be very hard, because we've asked them even yesterday that we can see that our government in North does not have capacity. We could see even by the first bodies, 9 bodies that we retrieved ourselves as volunteers. We will stand there the whole day waiting for the pathology to come. They will just tell us they have only 7 vans that are working the entire district. So it shows the problem. But our main concern is that the families who must go there and identify. Because you must understand one thing. The people who have passed on underground there, they were the breadwinners. They were the ones who were bringing bread on the table. How do those families are going to be able to go and identify? Unless the government will say, we'll provide transport for you, we'll provide meals for you, we'll assist you. You see, we'll be able to even to give you counseling. Because this situation really is frustrating. It's frustrating, and most of the people, they've been affected badly by this situation that is happening here.
2 of the volunteers, Mandla Charles, Mzwandile Mkwai, that have been going underground with the cage, what are they giving you as community leaders and community members feedback with regards to, the state underground, but also whether those that are remaining underground wanting to come out?
Those ones, those are the leaders. Those are the true leaders. They had to just to be strong for those people. Because the first statement that they've said, they've uttered, is that if it's not us who's going to save those people, who's going to save those people? As much as we could say our government is not willing to. But they sacrificed everything, that even if how scary it is underground, but we are going to go there and retrieve those bodies and save those ones who are badly sick. So for me, they are true leaders.
And how are they, and what are they saying about the situation that is underground currently, or as and when they are going underground to try and assist with the retrieval process, either of bodies or people that are still alive?
No, they are saying the situation is very bad underground there. And you must understand, there are some people from 11 Shaft who are trying to resurface using the gator. There are some pieces of the human flesh. There are people, body parts, they are still underground. But it's going to need courage from them also to retrieve also those body parts. Because the reality fact of the matter, there are a lot of people who have died. There are people who have fallen from the top to the bottom. Some of them will not be retrieved. So we are not just sitting with the number that has been retrieved of bodies. There are a lot, dozens and dozens of people who have passed on underground.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Johannes Prangase, who is a community leader, but also indicating that based on the feedback that they are having from the 2 volunteers that have went underground, that is Mandla Charles and Mzwandile Mkwai, they are indicating that the situation underground is dire because as the police are investigating, among others, issues of allegations of illegal miners underground who are who don't have access to the food that has been sent underground, and that's why we are seeing the condition of these illegal miners that are resurfacing, coming in that state where they even need medical attention. Some of them indicating that even the food that was sent there underground, the food that they were sent underground, they had not been giving those food items voyo. But those are not only some of the investigations that are ongoing. Kingpins, I mean, the very same Johannes Kangas was saying that SAPS should take accountability for the number, or what they're saying that is the murder of illegal miners. But Atlenda Mart is saying that because part of their investigations is to try and find the kingpins, also indicating that there are those that are already in custody. Those are the people as SAPS that they believe that they should be held accountable and be charged, because they're also looking into allegations that these illegal miners here, they were brought here under false pretenses or are being deceived that there are job opportunities, only to find them in the state that they are in, partaking in illegal mining activities. But the situation that is unfolding at this side, that cage, it looks like the retrieval process is still ongoing. Those vehicles that the Department of Health in the Northwest Province had indicated that they had reached out to Gauteng to assist with vehicles that can be able to transport the number of bodies that are being retrieved here. That is due to the high number of bodies, and also that they will keep on increasing. Indeed, Voyo, together with our viewers, those vehicles have arrived here, and that retrieval process or operation as well is still ongoing.
Refill Sibuko and of course Ziniko Mhlawa with that update. They are on the ground. Quite a number of vehicles have made their way from Gauteng to Stilfontein to try and help. Remember, the police know they are the ones who, I mean, this is their operation. They know what is going on there. So it could mean that there are bigger numbers of people who are going to come to the surface. They will have more information and intelligence than everyone else at the moment. We are still waiting for another official update from them about the operation itself, what is going on right now. But let's take you back to Ziniko. Just from your vantage point, what are you seeing? Has the situation changed at all from the time those vans and minibuses moved in while Refilwe was speaking to one of the community leaders?
Bravoyo, they are still parked just outside the actual hold here in Stilfontein, shaft number 11. So what this then, Bravoyo, is going to lead to in terms of what will be happening to those bodies beyond this point. Remember that now most of these illegal miners who have been surfacing and getting arrested are coming from neighboring countries such as Mozambique, Lesotho, Zimbabwe. So now the next phase when it comes to the actual bodies, that stressful process of trying to ensure that these bodies are transported from South Africa to their respective countries, it's going to entail several things which might need or which might be a bit challenging for those family members who are outside South Africa. One of the things that needs to happen, they need to get permits. And of course, the permit is for you to is to allow a family to transport a body outside South Africa to their respective countries. The second part which needs to be dealt with is the issue of preparing the body, which might be a bit complicated because most of these individuals we have spoken to personally are saying that they're here on their own. They do not have any immediate family. So in terms of that responsibility of preparing a body, it's going to be a challenge. Another thing that they need to decide on as family members in Mozambique, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, is to the form of transportation they will need to use to transport the body of their loved ones, whether by air, by road. Those are the mostly common options which are chosen by these families, by families that are outside South Africa, but not too far in terms of distance where they can just drive. And of course, you will need to access funeral parlor services for you to be able to transport the body of your loved one. Another thing is the issue now of South African authorities having to contact the next of kin of those bodies. Remember that each and every family will then be dependent on South African authorities to know whether one of their loved ones has since surfaced and currently in custody, or it's one of the individuals who have unfortunately lost their loved ones. So those are some of the consideration or some of the processes which will need to be followed, Bravuyo, by some of these family members who've got their loved ones here in Stilfontein, whether in custody at various police stations here or maybe at various mutuaries here in South Africa. But it gives us some insights in terms of how many bodies the authorities are expecting or at least anticipating. And another thing that we are not sure of, Bravuyo, at this point is whether they are aware of the bodies that have already, surfaced, which are still lying there at shaft number 11, or they've got some insights in terms of having to prepare for the worst. Hence now we saw those forensic pathology vehicles coming all the way from Gauteng. And if you look at this distance between Gauteng and where we are at Klerksdorp, we are talking about 2.5 hours to 3 hours. So that's the distance these vehicles had to travel to get to where we are. And we can confirm that they did talk to us and say that they will be here for a couple of days assisting in terms of transporting these bodies. But we are not sure whether they'll be transporting them to various regions here in the Northwest Province, or maybe they'll be using the nearby facilities when it comes to storing these bodies. So that's the latest from where we are.